Distinguished guests, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to join you at this UN HLPE 2026 side event. I congratulate WOYA, the Collaborative AI Group, and all partners for convening this urgent dialogue. AI or be left behind. Artificial intelligence is no longer just a technological question. It's shaping global economies. The critical question before us is not how far this technology advances, but who stands to benefit. The answer lies in building human infrastructure, the institutions, governance, and partnerships that connect people to opportunity and keep innovation serving society. For the young entrepreneurial Arab region, this conversation carrying immense weight. While innovation is expanding, our SMEs still face real barriers to finance, skills, and markets. This is where the Union of Arab Chambers finds its purpose. We build bridges between policy, investment, and local enterprise to ensure AI drives efficient supply chain, sustainable agriculture, and inclusive finance. AI cannot achieve this on its own. Under SDG 17, partnership is the engine that makes all other goals attainable. As championed by the Global Digital Compact, digital transformation must center on people over platforms, ensuring small business help shape this transition rather than just endure it. As we look toward 2030, technology alone will not be sufficient. Our success depends on our cooperation. Let's ensure AI becomes a powerful force for sustainable development through the partnership we build today. Thank you.
Before we start the panel, we will be joined by His Excellency Professor Mahamadou M.O. Ka, the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the Gambia to Switzerland. He is also the permanent representative to UN Office of Geneva, UNOG, and World Trade Organization. His Excellency Ka is the chairman of the UN Commission on Science and Technology for Development and the chair of WIPO's high-level conversation on IP and frontier technologies and AI. His Excellency sits at the precise intersection of global governance, AI policy, and development. His perspective on governing AI for the Global South is institutional, grounded, and urgently needed. Please welcome His Excellency Professor Mahamadou M.
Yes, a very good afternoon from Geneva here. I don't know what time is it where you are. I would assume it's in the morning. Thank you for inviting me to join this very esteemed panel and to engage on the question of technology for whom, governing artificial intelligence for development in the age of the Global Digital Compact. So once again, thank you. But I will say that this question could not be timelier. 3 days ago, in this same city here in Geneva, 193 member states sat in the same room for the first time to discuss artificial intelligence governance at the Global Dialogue on Artificial Intelligence Governance by the UN. So technology for whom? is not rhetorical. It is the live question of this week in Geneva. And I want to advance three thoughts to answer this broad question. One is rules, room, and rails. And that leads us to who writes the rules and who is missing from the room. Who is writing them? Formally, the architecture is now in place and it is genuinely universal on paper. The Global Digital Compact, which most of you are familiar with, mandated the Independent International Scientific Panel on Artificial Intelligence and the Global Dialogue on Artificial Intelligence Governance, which consists or composed of 40 scientists from over 140 countries. Every United Nations member state is at the table. Informally, the rules are still being written elsewhere first. In the compute and model release decisions of a handful of companies and possibly the two countries that host roughly 90% of the world's most powerful artificial intelligence compute. So the question is, who is missing? Verification capacity is missing. A government that cannot independently test or audit a frontier model certainly cannot meaningfully consent to how it is governed. I submit that sovereignty on paper, dependency on practice. My own continent, Africa, is present at the dialogue, but structurally under-resourced going in. A continent with 18% of the world's population and under 1% of global data center capacity negotiates from a very different starting line and leverage. Everyday citizens, workers, and municipal level users are missing as well. Surveys on public debate on the continent show us that artificial intelligence governance is still concentrated among our ministries, among our regulators, and private companies, making it far from the people it is meant to serve. So what is my pragmatic read? That the room is legally full, but functionally uneven. The next week is not an order seat on the table at the table. It is the capacity to use the seat, to be able to have the pen on our hands and contribute to the shaping of the rules rather than the rules made for us. We want to be not only rule takers, rule makers, co-designers, co-architects, co-owners, and sharing the values equitably. So, my friends, what must change so that we in the developing world can exactly do that, can shape, and not just receive the digital feature that is coming at us at very fast pace. As I quickly advance, I would say from consultation to co-design. We in developing countries, particularly the global south, representatives need standing seats on the steering and safeguard bodies of the multilateral development banks and the artificial intelligence funds that are growing, that are now being designed, not comment periods on decisions that are already made. The second point on that, we need to move from aid logic to equity logic. I submit that we have to shift financing instruments from grants for pilots towards equity and co-ownership stakes in regional compute and in data infrastructure so that value accrues locally and not just access. And third, from national silos to pooled bargaining, regional compute hubs and joint procurement are important as African, as ASEAN, and Latin American coalitions are beginning to test. These can cut infrastructure cost by up to half and convert fragmented small markets into serious negotiating weight. And fourth, we have to shift from imported benchmarks to sovereign data and languages. National language data sets, local health and agricultural data under domestic governance rules, indeed, are the raw materials of an artificial intelligence that actually understands the global south, that understands the developing countries, that understands least developing countries, that understands small island states, that understands Africa, that understands the diversity in all these geographies. This is a policy choice and not a technology gap. From single track dependency to deliberate diversification, our countries should treat their choice of artificial intelligence infrastructure partners as a sovereignty decision with a 10-year horizon at the minimum and not a procurement decision with a 10-month horizon. I will also say that infrastructure is core. Without it, we are nowhere. We need sustainable green infrastructure. One infrastructure investment before 2030 to ensure artificial intelligence meaningfully serves development. I submit to you that a global public compute fund is urgent and is crucial, that is physically distributed as regional, publicly award compute and energy hubs on the model of, for example, the South Africa Center for High Performance Computing is a good example, and India's public compute pool already demonstrating a good starting point for us.
socioeconomic progress can happen when half of the population is left behind. Our conviction to gender equality and women empowerment is driven by the recognition that women and girls are the bedrock on which social progress is based. It is for this reason that Malawi supports the proposal to consider electing a female United Nations Secretary General.
Welcome. Your Excellent Ambassador Chimbiri-Molande, Malawi is navigating a global AI governance process, right, that is largely designed, as we heard from His Excellency Ka, right, before African nations probably had a full voice, right? It's very uneven out there. So what does it actually look like for you to shape that process from where you sit? And where are the genuine openings that you see that for influence that you all can make?
Thank you very much for having me and for really inviting me to be part of this very, very important and timely conversation on AI. As Professor Muhammadu has said very clearly, conversations are ongoing and negotiations are ongoing about AI governance. And I would like to take you back a little bit that what really led to this, we used to hear on the continent of Africa about digital economy. What is this? AI, artificial intelligence. We felt it was very far. And then COVID hit us. And we realized that connectivity was key and very important. It wasn't, and the AI was not an abstract, but real. So member states here, as you know, being an ambassador and permanent representative of the UN, at the UN here, we are representing governments. We are representing the people of our countries. So I represent Malawians and the government of Malawi. And governments a year ago recognized and agreed as member states that internet is a critical global facility for inclusive and equitable digital transformation. And to fully benefit from it, it must open global, be global, and also interoperable, stable, and secure. So member states also recognized that internet governance must continue to be global and multilateral. Thus, these discussions on the global AI governance at the UN really took place before African nations came up with common positions. You know how we work as African nations, we develop a common position. However, we are aware, maybe you are aware, all of you, that the AU has a continental AI strategy. That's the one guiding us as governments to really look at how we govern AI as it really affects our people. So issues of that concern lives of people are really serious governance issues. And really, they must be managed properly. They must bring in inputs from various actors of lives of people, various stakeholders, from households, community leaders, local government structures, policymakers, technicians, researchers, and also political leaders. So everybody needs to be part of this. As the young person told us earlier on, youth must be part of this. You know, Africa has a young population. The largest for young population in the world is in Africa. And we need them on the table to be part of this conversation. The women who are taking care of and developing and bringing children from early childhood, the teachers, everybody needs to be part of this conversation so that we bring on board in our policy making, global policy here at the UN and also in government level, all the issues of concerns by these people or categories of the population. So what AI governance means is that we need to relook at the governance systems in terms of whether the systems are safeguarding privacy and security of people and their lives. And the openings are there. In fact, they are there. Member states here a year ago, as I mentioned, adopted the Pact of the Future and also its annexes of the future generations and the global impact. Malawi, along the other African states, contributed to the negotiations for these documents, and we made sure that the concerns that we are aware of about the youth, the women participation, and all that, they were part of the conversations that contributed to the global governance, the digital compact. Now, following lessons from the COVID, which revealed really that communities are not connected. And why? You know, in Malawi, in fact, what we noted, I was there then doing governance. I was given the responsibility to help government. Then I was working with UNDP. So I had to support government to ensure that there's connectivity between the central government and the local government. Despite that, there were closures of schools and other facilities like that. It was not easy. We realized that because of lack of connectivity, lack of infrastructure for connectivity, we could not connect the rural and the urban. And one other critical lesson we had was that women, or girls rather, when they were not going to school, they were being abused in the houses, and we ended up having an increase in early pregnancies. So this is what led us as a government of Malawi to look into what governance systems do we need to reform. The policies and the laws had to be reviewed, be looked at. Do we have the policies that can protect? And then because of that, we have Personal Data Privacy Act and with cybersecurity regulatory frameworks that are underway, being developed. But also here at the UN, we have the the Convention on the Fight Against Cybersecurity. Malawi is party to that. And in terms of accountability mechanisms, we do have them. Various stakeholders, as I've said, have already developed a number of mechanisms for including grievance redress mechanisms, compliance, dispute resolution mechanisms, even ISO for transparency and documentation toolkits, and many others. And you know, talking about the continental AI strategy, which is the Africa one, which is people-centric, development-oriented, and inclusive. What we need from partners, international partners, is that we need to strengthen our partnerships by having more support in implementation of the commitments that have been made here at the UN globally. And also this implementation would require predictable and adequate financing, and also ensuring technology transfer that will put to scale any technology innovations that are out there. We need to build capacities. We need to minimize risks. We need to stimulate investment and even foster more cooperation. So what is critical thing to be done is to integrate AI into the digital technology digital technology into the education system, from early child development to the tertiary, so that every human being, every person in Malawi, on the continent of Africa, is prepared to really manage and to be able to use AI for their benefits and for the benefit of their communities and the country in general. So really, I agree with Professor Mohammadi that we need Africa-led data, and language that will help us to be able to use AI to our benefit. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that perspective. I think that, it sounds very much as the African Union's continental AI strategy encompasses a lot of what we were talking about, right? Governance in that. But in the AI systems that are embedded in governance for low resource settings like policing or social services, what accountability mechanism currently exists and what guardrails do you think need to be built right now?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we have the legal frameworks, the Private Data Protection Act, the other regulations that are being developed. So even in the convention, the Global Convention on the Cybersecurity, we need to domesticate them. In terms of the social services, the health, we have in the health sector, in fact, in Malawi, what started the real game changer was the adoption of the biometric identity system. So we have a national ID which has biometric data for every person, and that has been really a game changer in the health system for health social services. They are able to use that to really, even that would be used even for accountability system in terms of tracking who is doing what. Similarly, in payment systems, we are using the national ID to really do the know your customer system for the payment system with the banks, private banks, and the government Reserve Bank of Malawi. So even in terms of judiciary access to justice, we are using the same, and they are creating AI mechanisms that will ensure that there's accountability vis-a-vis access to justice. So what are the gaps are that really the infrastructure is what is the major gap. We need more investment in the AI infrastructure in the various sectors, multi-sectoral, in the health sector, education sector, as I mentioned, the judiciary, even in other sectors, even local government. Local government will be very, very key because these are the people serving the rural people where the majority of the population is, and they need the accountability systems there that will save and protect the people and their privacy and their livelihoods. So we need major international partnerships that will come and help us in technology transfer, in capability of building capacities, and also financing.
We have heard from the experts, and now we hear from someone who knows the system from the inside, not a researcher, but as a young man who has had to survive it and speak back to it. Issaiah Guzmán. Issaiah Guzmán is 15 years old. He has already addressed the Chilean Supreme Court. He has spoken 4 times at the United Nations. And today we are so honored to have Issaiah here to speak life into each of us. Thank you, Issaiah. The floor is now yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Excellencies, distinguished guests. Good morning. My name is Issaiah Guzmán Arancibia. I am 15 years old. I come from Chile, and I serve as the regional focal point for Latin America and the Caribbean within the SDG 16 Youth Caucus of the Major Group for Children and Youth. It is a true honor to be with you today. Every generation inherits the consequences of the one before it. Some generations inherited reconstruction, others inherited globalization. My generation will be the first to inherit algorithms. For the first time in history, a generation is growing up knowing that AI will shape not only how we learn, work, and communicate, but also how governments make decisions and how opportunities are created. The decisions being made today will define the world my generation will live in for decades to come. That leaves us with a fundamental question. How do we ensure that young people are not simply recipients of development policy and technological change, but active participants in shaping them? I believe the answer begins with something very simple. Participation must start before decisions are made. Today, governments are developing national artificial intelligence strategies. International organizations are creating governance frameworks. Institutions are adapting to technology that evolve every day. Yet, far too often, young people are invited into the conversation only after priorities have already been set. We are asked to comment on policies that have already been written instead of helping to create them. If you want development policy to truly respond to the need of society, participation must begin from the very start, when challenges are identified, priorities are established, and solutions are designed. And this principle becomes even more important when when, when we talk about artificial intelligence. AI will increasingly shape education, healthcare, justice, and public administration. That is why its governance cannot rest solely in the hands of governments, companies, or technical experts. We need a shared governance model that brings together public institutions, academia, civil society, the private sector, and the young people to build an artificial intelligence that is truly human-centered. It is not about slowing innovation. It is about making innovation worthy of public trust. If my generation will inherit algorithms, then it must also help define the principles, values, and responsibilities that guide them. Because the question before us today is not only how we govern artificial intelligence, it is how we govern your future. My generation is not asking to inherit a world designed by others. We are asking to share the responsibility of designing it. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
It's all in our hands, this life of time that's given to us all. It gathers round each night, each morn. We watch it pass and grow. It is all in our hands, it is all in our hands. With every field and rising sea, can hear the sounds of all, and with every change we'll always be where hope's not lost but found.
I had to do